You are listening to the Lawyer Stories podcast with host Benny Gold. Lawyer Stories was founded in July 2017 and is an expanding global network of lawyers and law students sharing their personal journeys to the noble profession of the practice of law. Join us on this podcast as we dig deeper into these stories and hear from lawyers and law students from around the world in all areas of the legal profession. Here at Lawyer Stories, we believe that every lawyer has a story. What's yours?
Welcome to the Lawyer Stories podcast with Benny Gold. Today we welcome in Amanda Laub, founding attorney at Laub Law in Las Vegas, Nevada, focusing on personal injury and criminal defense. How are you?
Good. I have to correct you already. It's Nevada. If you're from the West Coast, it's Nevada.
What did I say? Nevada?
Yeah.
Is that an accent thing or?
It's an East Coast, West Coast thing, actually.
Okay, so it's not just me, like you're correcting basically the whole East Coast.
Yeah, basically.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that. I'll work on that the next time I say Nevada. That's how so it's Nevada.
Nevada, yeah.
Okay. So tell us, let's just go back. You have a great story. Thanks for coming here. I know we met up in Atlanta. We had a good time. It was fun, very valuable sessions there. So, like, where are you originally from?
Originally from Sacramento. So most of my dad's family is in Tahoe. So I was actually born in Tahoe, but I grew up mainly in Sacramento.
In Sacramento, okay. So you went to UC Davis. Is that like around Sacramento?
Yeah, it's like 45 minutes away.
Okay, so it's pretty close.
Mm-hmm.
So like what did you end up studying there?
So in my undergrad, I was a psychology major, but I like to focus more on the neuroscience part. So the neuropsych, I was doing an internship. It was at an fMRI lab on schizophrenia. For me, that's really what I was about, not social psychology, which is funny because now all my trial work is all based around social psychology.
Wow. So, and you were going to do a PhD, right, at one point, and like you decided to go to law school. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So with psychology, you either get your master's if you're going more into clinical work, or you go into your PhD. With your PhD, you can do more of the research. So I was more interested in research than being a therapist.
Okay. Okay. So you were thinking about doing that, and then what made you go to law school? Like, did you have a certain moment or anything that?
Yeah, so I was thinking of doing the PhD program, but I have a lot of family that are attorneys, all on my dad's side, all my uncles, my grandpa, and my uncle in San Francisco, Arnold Laub, actually, he used to have these big parties, and former Mayor Willie Brown, he went to one of the parties, and he would go all the time, and basically he told me his story, right? Because the reason I was in psychology was to help people.
Right.
And his story was that, he told me, because I put myself through law school or through undergrad. Wow. I really struggled financially. I worked 2 jobs while having this internship. I was also a caregiver for my mom for a while. But he didn't have money to even take the bus. So he was hitchhiking to school.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure he went to Hastings, which is where my grandpa went. But he was telling me his story, and he talked about how active he was with the civil rights. Mm-hmm. He has the Civil Rights Center, and I really got to see the impact he had on other people and how much he can help other people. So for me, I saw PhD, okay, it's 5 to 7 more years, or law school, 3 more years, and I can already start helping people.
And that's amazing.
Kind of where I made that decision.
Did he end up being a mentor for you at all?
No, unfortunately. So that was my last year, or second to last year in undergrad.
Okay.
And my uncle passed away the last year of undergrad.
Okay.
So after he passed away, of course, I didn't really have any of those connections anymore.
Right. So you really, like you said, you were working hard through undergrad. You had two jobs. You did it all yourself. You were a caretaker for your mother. Like, what were you? I mean, a lot of kids don't have to go through that. So that's something to obviously look back on and be very proud about, like doing everything yourself. What kind of job were you doing? Anything like legal related or just jobs to like make some money?
No, just
Yeah.
jobs to make money. I was working at a cafe on the weekends in Sacramento, so I'd stay with my parents. And then during the week, I worked at the financial aid office at UC Davis. And so
Okay.
it wasn't really law related. I didn't really get into anything law related until after undergrad.
Right. So then what brought you out to Las Vegas, Nevada? Nevada.
My mom's family are all out here. So my mom had cancer my last year of undergrad. And when I graduated, she was finally in remission. So I decided this is the time to move if I wanted to move. And I wanted to be closer to my grandma. So
Yeah.
I moved out here to Vegas. Well, and getting a job without any legal experience, except for interning a week here and there for my
Right.
uncle, it was a lot easier to do that here in Nevada versus in California.
Totally. Okay. So you went out there to law school after being in California for a while for like your whole life, right? So you went out to Las Vegas. So what was your law school experience like?
Yeah, law school, for me, so I started as a case manager before, and I know they tell you you're not supposed to work during your first year, but again, I was supporting myself. So I worked as a case manager throughout my first year. Then I got hired at another law firm. I got hired as a law clerk in the litigation department, which was really awesome. But that's where I was introduced to the Nevada Justice Association, which is
Okay.
basically the plaintiff's bar. There's an attorney side, and then there's also the student side. So for me, I was very active in that. I was student body representative or class representative. Uh, for me, it was very social, which now I'm very grateful for having all those connections. But yeah,
That's interesting that you say like those things are social, like the Nevada Justice Association and the you started the mock trial thing there. Like that's incredible. Like I'm surprised they wouldn't have like a long standing mock trial type of thing. How
I
did
was
you do
surprised
that?
too.
Like why did you come up with that idea?
Yeah, well, so I didn't really get into litigation until law school, but with the Nevada Justice Association, they do a lot of litigation work, and I got introduced to a lot of the trial colleges, and so in my second year in law school, I was the vice president of the student chapter for NJ,
Hmm.
and then at that time, we were talking about potentially getting a mock trial going. I guess they tried a while or a few years before I got there. It was not successful. So in my last year, when I was president of the student chapter, I reached out to all my connections that I had made throughout law school. I got it going with a team of other people. Um, so I had to get all the judges. We only had,
Oh wow, okay.
I want to say 7 teams.
Did
So,
getting the judges like help you win or no? Like because you were the one to get the judges. I'm
well,
kidding. I'm just joking. I'm joking.
I wasn't even allowed to participate. I
Oh
actually,
really? Okay.
yeah, it's funny because I still help run it today, and I'm not allowed to participate, or I wasn't able to participate. But they call me back to be a judge, and sometimes have me become the presiding judge
Why wouldn't you be able to participate?
because I'm biased.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I could. Well, all the judges, I had to reach out to attorneys. I was doing cold emails, cold calls, trying to get attorneys to volunteer. And yeah, we started with 7 teams this year and last year. So last year was the fifth annual mock trial competition for the law school. But this year as well, we have I want to say over 60% of
Wow.
it's only open to first years. So we
Okay.
have over 60% of the first years who are participating.
Is that like moot court at all or no?
So moot court, the difference is moot court is for appellate law.
Okay.
So basically, oral argument for an appellate court
Got
versus
you.
mock trial is what most of attorneys who do litigation, that's just a basic trial in like district court or your justice court as well.
Gotcha. So, Amanda, tell us what your first job out of law school was like.
Yeah, so my last year in law school, I was hired by this really big trial firm
Hmm.
here in Vegas. But they're pretty well known nationally, and I really enjoyed it. It was tough.
Hmm.
Um, so right, they hired me. I believe it was April 2018, and I took the bar in July 2018. My mom passed away September
Hmm.
2018, exactly a month before I passed the bar. And it was honestly really difficult just trying to, because of how big of a trial firm they are, there was always a ton of work. I was really bogged down while going through um, just grieving my mom
Yeah.
and having this huge life change out of school, officially an attorney. Uh, so yeah, I ended up leaving that firm for a smaller firm. I also got a lot more experience in
Okay.
litigation and handling my own cases. Um,
How long were you in big law?
so that law firm, I was there for about a year.
Okay.
It include when I was a law clerk, and then yeah, then I went to the smaller firm. And for me, because I was an associate at the big law firms, you don't really get to do very much. I was doing less than I was doing as a law clerk. I was doing the paralegal work.
Wow. Okay.
But I got to sit in the meetings. I got to listen to their strategy sessions. So I learned a lot on the back end. I didn't actually get to handle any cases though.
Gotcha. So the smaller firm provided that, being like hands-on and learning how to do those things. That's great. So, like, what advice would you give a new lawyer?
Um, I would say just, keep your head up. There's a lot of stress that, especially with litigation, the stress that comes with the job, a lot of compassion fatigue as well. And so having that higher purpose for me, my passion's in helping people. And
That's
so
yeah, that's interesting. Okay.
as long as I'm keeping that in mind, I'm able to stick it out just, and I know that everything's temporary. I think that's also really important. Everything,
Interesting. Yeah.
even when you're going through something stressful or something wonderful, just enjoy it and yeah, stick through it.
Totally. Did you say compassion fatigue?
Yeah, compassion fatigue, especially with at the bigger law firms I was with, and even now you get these wrongful death cases where you're dealing with the families, even the people who are injured or incapacitated in some way,
Mm.
or even with the criminal stuff I do, people are coming to you at the lowest points in their lives.
Yeah.
And so it's really hard for me, at least, to not take some of that on. And
Wow.
yeah, I mean, I want to help them. Sometimes you can't, or sometimes you can't. You can't change the world for somebody. You can help compensate them or keep them out from getting in bigger trouble, but you can't really fix it. You can't go back to when their loved one was alive or before the injury when they were able to walk normally. You know.
Right. So what does it take? Like, what would you say like the qualities are of somebody who's taking on cases like you just described, where personal injury, lowest point of their life, they come to you. These people are just hurt.
Yeah, I think one, it takes resilience. Two, being able to set a boundary. Sometimes
Mm.
I'm still kind of learning this myself, but sometimes it's really hard to not let a client go on, especially when you're really feeling what they're going through. And really just focusing on the law and what you're there
Okay.
to do. For me, I've realized a lot of the clients that most other attorneys would consider difficult clients, they're difficult because they don't know, because they're scared, they're frustrated, and they don't know. So being able to ground the clients back to, here's the process. This is what we're going through next. this is what you can expect in the future, you know, and
Right.
giving that light to them, it allows them to kind of trust the process more.
So communicating to the client, letting them know what to expect is important. The process, I think like that's something that you do really well. So I've heard and so I've seen. So how many years did you work before you launched your own firm?
So as an attorney, I only had 4 years out.
Okay, so let me ask you this, Amanda. So how do you know when it's time to launch your own firm?
Well, for me, it was one, I was tired of working long hours for other law firms and just not feeling that I was appreciated or that the work that I put in really mattered. Right. And with the long hours, I figured for, again, for me, the long hours, I could be doing that for myself and
Right.
have more freedom and I'd be working for someone who appreciates me. So really it it you just know it's just, you
Just
know,
know.
there's a time for change if you're willing to take the risk because it's a huge risk. It's very stressful,
Right.
but it's something you just have to, if you have that feeling inside you, I feel like you just have to go out and try to do it.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Come up with a plan
I
or
tell
something.
people that about who want to go to law school. Like, if you have that feeling inside you that you want to be a lawyer, go. Like, I would never tell somebody not to go. I mean, I think after being through the whole thing, there's reasons why people should and shouldn't go. But if somebody really wants to go and they're young, you got to do it, or else you'll be thinking about it like the rest of your life, right? Just sort of maybe like opening your own firm. It's like the same thing. Like you can't, there you can do so much working for somebody else, but there's probably a ceiling in that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of nice being able to create your own schedule and create a firm culture, right? Especially,
Right.
I mean, you're what you want to see in a firm and how you want to handle cases are never going to be exactly the same as the you're working for.
That's interesting. You just mentioned culture. How do you develop a law firm culture?
So first, I created my whole business plan, and one of the things for my firm, you really have to think about what you want to bring to the clients, right? So my firm, one, our brand logo is lawyers who listen, but for within our staff or within our office, it's treating humans as humans and really sticking to it. So having that little slogan really helps kind of develop um, an expectation by the staff members. Um, so in part of that, I try to make sure all my staff, they feel gratitude or they feel my gratitude towards
Good.
them. Because I have 4 staff members, we've only been open for about 9 months now.
Yep.
We I do trainings with them, but I have to sometimes make sacrifices, work extra hard so that I can make sure I can afford them, you know, and I still take them out to dinners or to
Nice.
we had an escape room not too long ago
Nice.
and really building that. But also I think one of the most important things is allowing everyone to have a voice at the table. It,
Yep.
as a law firm owner, it doesn't mean you have to take their
Yeah.
recommendations, but
Yeah, that
at,
makes sense. Yeah, I got you.
yeah, give them the freedom and the space. Let them feel safe enough
Yep.
to talk to you because there's so many things that are swept under the rug that ends up causing staff to leave. So I think that's one of the biggest things, just the voice at the table.
That's awesome. And I think that's totally true. To give everybody, no matter what their position might be in the firm, let them have a word. Like, okay, I mean, you never know what somebody's going to say, and then make a huge difference, right? It doesn't matter who they are,
Yeah.
or what position. Yeah, I like that. So, like, what advice would you give somebody who wants to open a law firm?
I would say, I mean, depending on where they are and having that desire, is starting to reach out to people, start creating connections. Right now, most of my cases, we've been blowing up the last couple months, but most of
It's
our
awesome.
cases come from other attorneys.
Yeah,
Um,
it's great.
or friends and family. I started by whenever I got a case that was in a field that I didn't practice, I started referring out kind of early on. That way, I was building connections. I
Mhm.
felt kind of there was almost like a kinship with the attorneys I was sending cases to. And then once I opened my firm, because of all of the social things like starting the mock trial competition and being part of NJA, because of all the social things, when I started my firm, I actually had people reaching out to me wanting to take me to lunch
That's
to,
great.
to give me advice. So yeah, I just definitely start building connections as soon as you can.
That's awesome. And I just want to tell you that, like, if you ever see anybody on Lawyer Stories, if you're just like perusing like what we do that might look interesting, that you want to connect with, you want a warm introduction to, that could be a potential referral partner, like I'm happy to help you out and make a warm introduction. That's like part of what we're going to be doing on Lawyer Stories Connect, the new platform that we're building and we're going to launch in a few months. So I'd be happy to make those connections for you because I like to hear that lawyers and lawyers are like working together to like refer each other business. I think that's huge. So that would be our pleasure. So like, what is like the toughest part versus the biggest reward of having Laub Law?
Um, the toughest part is, well, there's a couple things. One is learning business. I've never taken a
Business,
business
yeah,
class. Yeah, I
right.
took a through the Small Business Association. They have classes you can take. So learning business HR as I'm developing,
Right.
but also the sacrifices of, okay, there's a deadline. I have to do it. At the end of the day, everything falls on me. So I have to know that I can work extra hard or I'm willing to work extra hard. But I think that some of the biggest rewards are, one, kind of the freedom. I'm not feeling guilty. I mean, sometimes I do, but if I go to lunch and I spend a little bit extra time because it's someone I'm really engaging with, being able to take that extra time and not worry about coming back to the office late. Um, but also being able to really see the change that we're bringing to clients and knowing
Yep.
that I have that effect, that it's my firm, that one of the coolest things is when I get a client who's raving about my case management thing. It's
I'm sorry, I coughed. Can you repeat that? Client making what?
a client who's raving about my case manager.
That's
I
great.
mean,
Yeah.
that's one of the biggest compliments to me because your firm does become a reflection of you. Um, so yeah, it's really cool. I love watching also my staff being really excited to see the changes or be able to give that service to our
Yeah,
clients.
that's awesome. Yeah, totally. So tell us more about like Lab Law. Like you're in Las Vegas. What cases are you currently taking?
Yeah, so we do personal injury and criminal defense. Um, and then I also do some contract work on the side. I do business litigation,
Okay.
and I also take on, so through my career as an attorney, I've done what we call partner, or it's a children's cap attorney. Basically, you represent people or
Yeah.
children who are stuck in the foster care system.
Okay.
So this last year, when I opened up my firm, because I really appreciate that type of work, I realized I have to get paid now.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
so now I'm doing some special education law on the side,
Right.
which is really rewarding. But our firm focuses on just criminal defense, personal injury. We do a lot of premises cases.
Okay.
Car crashes are up significantly right now.
Do you find anything like different, do you think, because you're in Vegas? Like, do you have like these weird like criminal cases that are coming to you, or like do you have like more like DUIs or like car crashes, or like is there something like Vegas specific that you can point to for us, or no?
Yeah, I was actually funny you mentioned that. I was just talking to somebody about Nevada has the highest rates of DUIs. Go figure. I mean,
Yeah,
it's a party
yeah.
town. So yeah, we have the highest rates. Well, Nevada have the highest rates in the country for DUIs. Um, Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is around partying, fights after concerts,
Okay.
just people being in Vegas.
People being in Vegas, just
Yeah.
the USA's adult playland, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so you see a lot of that come through, and that's a lot of what goes on there. Got it. Um, so where do you see Laub Law in like 5 years?
In 5 years, we definitely have been growing really fast. In 5 years, I do plan to have associates under us. I would like to eventually focus more just on trial work. So right now, I'm helping my case managers with a lot of the pre-litigation for the personal injury side, but I'd like to focus more on the criminal defense and actual trial work. This last year, I've done 4 trials, and it's so much fun being in the courtroom.
Really? That's great.
Yeah, and it's really exciting. I don't do roller coasters. I'm not really an adrenaline junkie or anything like that, but I really enjoy being in the courtroom.
That's all. Well, yeah. I mean, you're like the founder of the mock trial group at UNLV Law, so they should name that after you one day. I think.
One day, if I can become a big enough donor, I guess.
Right, if you're a donor, that is. No, that's pretty cool because I think a lot of PI attorneys you hear of just like kind of dish those cases out to other people who want to go to court, and like you're like one of those people who want to go to court, which I don't really know like how there. I just feel like there's a lot of PI attorneys who try to settle. If they don't get the settlement and they have to move it forward, they might dish it out to another firm. Am I wrong?
Yeah, we have quite a few attorneys like that here. I'm actually getting some cases like that from other attorneys where they just don't want to take it to litigation. But that's because pre-litigation is pretty easy. Your case manager can handle it. Most of it, not all of it, of course. But litigation is a whole nother beast.
Yeah.
I'm very deadline driven. There's so many deadlines. It's much more aggressive. I'm very I can be very conflict oriented. So for me, it's one way to
Really?
get out during the day, and then that way I can come home and I'm just done with conflict for the day.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely just very different
That's
job.
it. Yeah, I'm curious about that. Like the people who kind of dish off those cases, which I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But you said a case manager can take care of it. How do they know? Do you think when a case should go to somebody else for trial, or they should try to get like a settlement?
Well, with that, it really depends on the adjusters. I mean, well, so I do a lot of premises cases, which are against a lot of them are against casinos. Casinos are not going to settle. Those are going to go to litigation.
Mhm.
They're most likely going to deny, say they don't have the surveillance video, even though if you do something wrong in their casino, of course they have the surveillance
They're
video.
probably
But
getting sued every day. Those casinos,
yeah,
like
yeah,
multiple times a day. I mean,
yeah, they have their own. They're either in house or they have firms that represent just single
yeah,
casino. Yeah, it really depends. It depends on the injuries, liability, really. A lot of cases are really easy to turn out, especially car crashes. Car crashes here in Vegas are up this year. Car crash fatalities are up as well, partly because we're getting a lot more people, especially from California, who don't want to pay taxes anymore.
right.
Yeah, those ones are pretty easy. A lot of Here you'll see a lot of attorneys who just do car crash pre-litigation.
What if like a client was like, I don't want you to do that. Like, send it. You have to take that to trial. Like, send it to trial. Like, I don't want you to just settle for this. I mean, you got to listen to the client. Is that how it generally goes?
So I mean, this goes back to the difficult client, right? What other attorneys would consider a difficult client. My job is to inform them.
Hmm.
So I try to inform them and give them a good expectation of if we are to settle, this is what you're going to be looking at. Here's a range, here's how long it could potentially take. And it's really important to set those expectations, get it out of the way early, and keep reminding them as it goes. Because once we do get clients, for example, I've had clients that 100% believe in their case, think it's $1 million case worth
Right, right.
worth 20K. And if I get into a conflict like that, I tell them I can't represent them.
Nice.
We're just at a complete, complete opposite sides of the spectrum of what we're looking for.
Are there attorneys out there who will do it even though they think they believe that it might be a 20K case and they're just going to take it anyway, you think?
I'm sure, but that worries me personally.
Yeah.
Because if you take it to litigation and you lose, then your client's on the hook for the other attorney fees. So even if they have to pay you because we work contingent, they're still going to have to pay the other side's fees, and who wants to expose their clients to that?
Right. Okay. Yeah, smart. Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of attorneys out there who do these things like the pre-lit stuff. So is there any other advice you'd like to give the Lawyer Stories community today?
No, I just, focus on your connections, really your connections. For me, it's all about how you treat people, and you get what you put out. I think that's something everyone should keep in mind. Right now in Las Vegas, we're cracking down. Well, the plaintiff's bar has been cracking down on what we call cappers, people who pay nurses in ERs. We have police officers, tow truck drivers. Attorneys have been paying them to get cases, and it's starting to fight back. You can be successful and do everything the right way while being a good person.
That's good. I like that advice. Be successful while doing things the right way and being a good person. That's great. That's like a credo. That's perfect. I like it. So, okay, so that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Do we have anything else? Do we cover most of the things that we wanted to cover? Are you working on anything crazy that you want to tell us about?
Nothing really crazy right now. It depends what you consider crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's exciting for me because I've been putting in. Before this month, I was going to networking events almost twice a day, every day, which is exhausting. But I'm starting to see, the returns on that, which is
good.
Yeah. We've been so busy. I hired another case manager just to put in a few hours to train my current case manager because I don't have time anymore. Someone was saying the other day, I think it was a CLE I was in. They said, spend money when you don't have to spend your time, right? So instead of spending my time on training her when I can do the other things, I've been paying for this new case manager to help her, which is awesome.
That's great. Well, congratulations on all your success. You're like certainly a young attorney doing great things. So congrats.
Thank you.
In any way we can ever help you, let me know.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I was able to get quite a few connections over in Atlanta because of Lawyer Stories. I think what you do is awesome.
Thank you.
I love that part of it also destigmatizes attorneys while allowing us to hear other people's stories and where they come from and how far they've gotten. So plenty of kudos to you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. We're going to keep it going as much as we can and keep connecting people out there in a good way. So yeah, plenty of people out there for you to meet, Mandi. We'll introduce you to plenty of them hopefully through Lawyer Stories Connect and like other things. But I appreciate you coming on. I know super busy getting caught up with everything, and thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, stay there. Thanks for tuning in, everybody, and wherever you are in the world today, enjoy yourselves. Cheers.